bringing you up to date on all the action from a busy weekend of women's soccer. This is USL Super League Game Week on SiriusXM FC.
Welcome into Game Week on SiriusXM, joined as always by my somewhat disheveled co-host this week, Marion Crowder. She is in multiple locations. She lost her AirPods. She said I could say it, but Marion, glad you could make it on the show. I'm Anna Witte. It is our last show of 2024. I cannot believe it. We just wrapped up the last weekend of games in the Super League. It was week 18, 4 matches. Lexington beat DC 3-0 in their first ever shutout on the season. Brooklyn beat Dallas 1-0. Tampa Bay beat Spokane 3-2. And Fort Lauderdale beat Carolina 2-0. This was Carolina's third straight loss. And Fort Lauderdale is now on the right track right as we hit this break, Marion. But we're not going to dig into the games this week because there's so much to look back on the fall. Yeah. We also dive into that with USL Super League's president, Amanda Vandervort. She joins the show later here today. But Marion, when you look at the season as a whole, what is your favorite memory from the fall?
Good question. I'm going to answer it in 2 different ways. I'm going to go with my favorite moment and then my favorite kind of overarching thing that we've done. My favorite moment, it's really hard not to pick opening weekend. As the lead analyst on that, we had Bridget with Sideline. We had a couple other people in the building. The league obviously came down and we got to meet a lot of the faces behind it. And, we had been privy kind of to what this was supposed to look like and all of the work that it took to lead up to that point. And you never really envision, I feel like, the finish line when you're in it. It's all just about what's next.
Yeah.
And having that moment in the Carolina game where it was real and it was the finish line. I know it's not the full finish line, but it was the finish line of it getting started, and just being able to be a part of that. I think it's hard not for me to choose that moment. And then my favorite thing that we've done is actually, on the show, has been talking to the players. And I mean that my favorite thing is obviously I've loved calling the games. I've loved talking to the coaches, but being able to have the players on this show week in and week out and truly understand their why, and realizing, as cliche as it sounds, and everyone's going to laugh at that because I am not a cliche person at all, but truly understanding and hearing from them that it was so much more about just an opportunity to play soccer. There are so many different levels to these players and the decision that it took to come to the Super League. And so just being able to hear that from them firsthand has been definitely my favorite thing. What's yours?
I completely agree with you on both pieces, right? Being at the first ever Super League game, seeing that sold out crowd and the energy. I was the sideline for that game, and we were able to have some conversations with our president and just really get to be a part of that whole thing was awesome. And then to your point about getting players on the show, I would say just seeing some of the new talent that we've never seen play here in the States. Some talent has really emerged in the Super League, and that's really exciting, not just for the league, but for the individuals and for us on the show to be able to come on every single week and break it down. The show is certainly something that I have enjoyed this fall, and I can't wait to continue to do with you in the spring. But my favorite memory overall is Lexington's Kimberly Mendez scoring that stoppage time goal, 90 plus 10 minute for Lexington's first ever point in the Super League. It was a tie with Carolina, and it was their first time where they had a small but big win. You could see how much the team had been working towards that and building towards it. The club had really had conversations with the players about next steps, how they have to continue to prove, how the Super League is that next step for these players, and they lived up to it in that game against Carolina. I think Lexington could be a dark horse later on in the spring as they continue to build and have a good chance in the playoffs. So I think watching that small moment and that small but big win for them is certainly a favorite memory of mine.
That is such a good one because kind of going back to one of mine and just being able to see it from the ground up and the visions and what people think it's going to be. Lexington was a team we actually got to watch that same principle on a smaller scale, right? And obviously all these coaches, they have an idea, they have a vision of what it's like, but you don't know until you know, right? And that's one thing that you and I found out alongside with them, and seeing that moment for Lexington, truly seeing the gears start to shift and start to turn, and the things that they had been trying to do actually start to work out. on the pitch. That is a really good one. Really good one.
Every team had their moment, really. And it was really fun to have USL Super League president Amanda Vandervort on the show to just talk about the league as a whole and how she reflected on the fall and a lot of the plans that they have for the spring.
I think one thing that stands out to me, just as we continue the conversation of scaling, we obviously know that, AA teams is not the long-term goal, right? And we've already, obviously we're going to add a team in Sporting Jackson 2025 already, but the coolest part of that conversation that I'm going to just go ahead and tease is the visit with US Soccer, because you and I have talked on this show at length about how we had heard from multiple sources that Emma Hayes was indeed looking at players in the Super League. We know we have some very talented players on loan right now from NWSL that had kind of already been in the mix. And so just to have, the relationship that Amanda will talk about in that interview with US Soccer really excited me from a player perspective, because again, it's bringing it back to like, what's the best pathway? Right. And now not only is USL Super League reaching obviously into the academy pool, we've seen that so many times already in the fall season. Now, right, it's the pathway and the upward trajectory. And so that was probably the most exciting part of that conversation for me.
So many exciting things. You touch on the fact that this league is expanding, new talent coming in. We're going to be in a transfer window, and a lot new talent could be in the Super League for us to talk about in the spring. We touched on that with Vandervort. Yeah, I'm really excited for that as well. So thanks so much for being with us throughout the fall season. We have really enjoyed just having these conversations, interacting with you guys, and cannot wait to continue to do that in the spring. Enjoy the holidays. Have a Merry Christmas. Enjoy the new year, and we'll be back in 2025 with the show. Make sure to tune in to the next game on February 8th. Fort Lauderdale plays Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I promise the audience that we have, I will not be this disheveled. This is the toughest part of the season for me. I promise. I will get better, Anna.
We're kidding.
We'll get AirPods. We'll
repurchase AirPods. Maybe Santa will bring you some AirPods, Marion.
That's right. At Hunter, if you're listening to this. No, but seriously, one of the things I told you, one of the things that I want to see more of in the spring is fan content. I know that you guys are out there. I know you're engaging. We hear stories from the players, from the coaches. Obviously, Anna gets to go to several of these matches. I want to see it. I want to see where you are. I want to see where the watch parties are happening. I want to see the supporter groups. That's my call to action for the spring.
Love it. Make sure to follow the league on social media. You can follow both Marion and I on social media. We'll definitely continue to keep tabs on the league in this small off season. And until then, make sure to stay with us here on Game Week on SiriusXM. We have USL Super League's president, Amanda Vandervort, right after this.
Bringing you up to date on all the action from a busy weekend of women's soccer. This is USL Super League Game Week on SiriusXM FC.
Welcome back to Game Week on SiriusXM. We are now joined by Super League President Amanda Vandervort. Amanda, so excited to have you on the show. This is the first time we've had you on the show. Kind of crazy. It's at the end of the fall after what an amazing first 4 months it has been for the league. 4 months now to the date, actually, because the league kicked off on August 17th. So when you look back at the last 4 months, Amanda, what has this league brought to the landscape of women's soccer?
Wow, August 17th. That is amazing to think about how far we've come in this short period. I mean, there's so many moments, so many things to recognize and celebrate. First of all, launching a women's professional soccer league is something I think we can all, acknowledge as a really special moment. For everyone involved, for the players, for the fans, for the clubs themselves. You guys have had an incredible run with this show and on the broadcast. It's been so special to see everyone really rallying and building this incredible league from day one. And I'm so proud of what we've accomplished and excited for the road ahead.
One of the things I've said it to you, Anna and I talked about it because we were both obviously on the opening weekend. It was just one of the coolest things to be able to see how you have approached all of this. You have been so boots on the ground. You're sitting at the training facilities, you're having meals with the girls beforehand. You're literally, I've seen pictures of you sitting down at practice with them. And so I want you to give us, that perspective, like being able to see it all really unfold in front of your eyes. What has that been like?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. Boots on the ground is a good way to put it. From the moment we started signing players in the league back in like April or May, I made it a point to welcome them all into the league, and make sure I was listening and understanding why a player chose the Super League. What was it about the USL that they wanted to be a part of? What could we deliver to make their experience as a professional soccer player the best it can be? And so, from welcoming them, I got out to every team's preseason in the summer and spent time one-on-one with the clubs, with the players, on the pitch. Carolina, I jumped in goal, which was ridiculous. I was reliving the glory days from the University of Wyoming.
As you should.
But taking some shots, I was having fun with the players in a really authentic, like soccer forward way, because that's who I am, and what I'm so passionate about is the game itself, but also what the game does for us and what it brings into our lives. And so understanding and learning those elements, like why the players, continue their journey as professionals now and into the Super League was really important to me personally. And then as we moved into the season, I got out to every stadium, at least as many of the home openers as they could. Spokane, it took me a little bit longer to get out to their first game. I went out the end of October to see their team in their stadium. But really being at the game and understanding the environment at the match, the locker room facilities, the pitch that they're playing on, the pregame rituals, postgame, how their experience is to me, helps me understand our league that much more, so that we can emphasize the things that are amazing and then challenge the things that we might need to change as we move forward, because none of us are perfect, right? And so it's really understanding that. So I think that's a little about how the journeys evolved, and there's just been so many moments along the way that have been just awesome. Like you said, like dinners with players or sitting on the pitch after a game with the losing team, and being part of their process and their growth too. Helped me through my process and my growth as the president of the league.
Boots on the ground is so important, but then you take it that whole nother level where you're having these conversations with the players and making them know that they're really important to the foundation in the league and the future of the league. So when you ask these players why they want to join the Super League, what do you find was the repetitive answer?
I would say a lot of them, early days, what I heard so much was I want to be home. So a lot of our players had been in Europe or abroad because there just was no place for them to play in the United States prior, right? There were just so many the opportunities were so limited. So a lot of them just wanted to be in the United States, which they considered home, but so many got to be in the city where they were either from or they went to college, and that real connection to the place and especially the people that matter to them really resonated. So that I would say that's probably the number one thing I heard across the board was the opportunity to be closer to the people and places that I love, home.
New teams, new players, new markets that the Super League was able to come into this past fall. As a whole, off the field, where do you feel like your team was the most successful in building the last 4 months?
Oof.
That's a tough question.
I want to hear.
Where off the field, we were the most successful. I have to say, I think our broadcast deal was really, really special. I think when we think about women's sports historically, access is always so challenging. Like, how do you watch women's sports? And those of us who watched it forever, you're trying to look through different web streams or different channels or different platforms trying to get to the game that you want to watch. So one of the philosophical things for us when we were negotiating and determining what our future, broadcast deal would look like, we wanted accessibility to be number one on the list. So as many people and as easy to find our games as possible. So for me, that deal with Peacock, being all games streaming on Peacock all season long, where it's literally just click on the thing, go to sports, and boom, the USL Super League is right there in your face. To me, that's been one of the most impactful decisions that we could have made.
For sure. I mean, I know as a broadcaster, Marion and I say the same thing, not just watching the games live, but a lot of the times we watch them in replay to prepare for this show. And we know exactly how to get there, exactly how to fast forward to aspects of the game that we want to see and what we want to break down. And we believe that was one of, if not the most important things you did to grow this league, for the future of this league, for everyone to watch it. So congratulations on that deal. A successful 4 months, and then you have a few months off, but we're looking at the spring that starts in February. So anything new and exciting that the fans might be able to see in February?
It's to be seen really how these clubs just ended. The fall season is, I think, interesting to think what are they going to do in this off season to shift the tactics, to shift, are they going to bring in recently graduated college players into their rosters?
Right.
How's the academy contract? Like, how are they going to bring in academy players into the like, what does that look like now for clubs? So a club like, Brooklyn, who's sitting atop the table, are they going to stay status quo, or are they going to shift? And then how's that going to impact them? Because they're on the road for the first couple of weeks, actually, in the spring season, versus, somebody like Lexington, who's just won their first home game, had their first shutout. Does this give them the momentum into the spring to be successful? Or do they feel they need to make some changes because it took them a little while to get warm? So I think it's going to be a compelling spring. And I think we've had these kind of 4 months to see where we've landed. But now as we get in the stretch to the championship and the final, I think this is where the rubber meets the road, and teams are going to have to get points on the table.
Yeah, 100%. I want to piggyback off a question that Anna asked earlier and flip it and add one. And so you've also got, not only have you been really boots on the ground with the players and understanding their thoughts behind joining this league, but you've also had the opportunity to do that with coaches. Anna and I obviously get to do that on a weekly basis during the coaches calls, but I feel like you are probably privy to the why for these coaches a lot more perhaps than we are. And so that's question A, is, what's been the repetitive answer perhaps from the coaching staff that have been so gracious to join us, because I think they've been brilliant. And then B, you have a tactical mind. And I kind of want to play into that. You played, you're a great player. I hear the way that you think about the game, and I'm curious to hear from you if the coaches joined this with, I want to establish a system of play in the fall, and then I really want to go get the players right or evolve the players that I have in the spring, or is it kind of be like, I'm going to assess here tactically what I have, and I'm just going to adjust and try to make ends meet in the spring. I'll know how to go A, B, C. So A, what is, the why for the coaches, and B, did a lot of them have game plans tactically coming into this?
You give me a lot of credit, Marion. I'm not as tactical as you think.
I think you are. I do think you are. So
no, I remember when I first started, I played and coached, and I watched more soccer than I could ever have imagined, when I was 18. Yeah. But no, I watch a game for the joy of it now, if I'm really honest, just to that point, like about
That's
the tactics.
So nice.
Like,
what is that like?
I do. I love the joy of the game. I love the individual moments. Sure, I love tactics, but I'm not like I don't talk tactics with the coaches. I do talk about the why, and I do talk about the players. I do talk about the resources and the facilities and how we need to improve it going forward. Because no coach is ever satisfied. I love my coaches, but none of them are ever satisfied. And that's a good thing, because they push me. They ask for support in areas where I have blind spots sitting in the league office in Tampa, Florida. So I think that's probably the dynamic that I've built between myself and the coaches and the sporting directors and our head of global football, Oliver Weiss. He's at the league office. And so we have a really good dynamic where we have, biweekly calls and conversations related to the sporting side of the match, but it's less tactics, because they're never going to reveal their tactics on a sporting call, or even if I'm at training, it's not like that, but it is a conversation frequently about resources and how to make the league better, how to think about the international calendar, how to optimize the international calendar, how to optimize periods of play when we're in the competition window, or time off when we're out of the competition window. and how to think about the women's game in a women first way, and how to really lead. One of our ambitions is to be a global leader in women's soccer, and our coaches and sporting teams are a huge part of how we accomplish that.
You have such a unique perspective, and I think that's what has made this league honestly so successful so far, because you have the soccer brain, right? Like, you know exactly what the players need at this point of the season, at this point of the league building, but you obviously have plenty of experience being on the back end and the business side. So we're super excited to see where you can continue to take this league. But we can't let you go, Amanda, since this is our last show of 2024. So we're going to take a break on Game Week, and we will be right back. This is Game Week on Sirius XM.
Bringing you up to date on all the action from a busy weekend of women's soccer. This is USL Super League Game Week on Sirius XM FC.
Welcome back to Game Week on Sirius XM. We are still joined by USL Super League's president, Amanda Vandervort. Amanda, you guys have had a busy few weeks. I know you just had US Soccer in the building. So what were those conversations like, and how were those meetings?
US Soccer has been so supportive of the USL Super League since we started having conversations with Cindy Cone, the president, years ago, and talking to them about our big picture strategy of the USL and women's soccer. So what is the player pathway, youth to pro? How does Academy incorporate into the Super League? What's the role of the W League, our pre-professional property, in the overall scope of U.S. soccer, but also the American soccer landscape? So that was years ago. Obviously, with our Division I sanctioning February 9th last year, that relationship grew even closer because, I guess at that point, like, we had been official, but at that point it was like, okay, let's rock.
Yeah, it's here.
And they've been great partners ever since. I think one of the things we've talked a lot with them about is player development. So, and player identification. So how are we leveraging the player pathway that the USL has so proudly built from youth to pro to help facilitate the growth and the success of the U.S. women's national team program in the years to come? So we had, this was an end of year meeting we had with the sporting staff of U.S. Soccer came down. So Matt Crocker, who oversees the entire sporting department, and then the head of development, head of scouting, talent ID, and Anguchi Anyewu, Gooch, we call him. He's the assistant sporting director. So they were all down. We had a great meeting talking about, they presented to us the U.S. way and the way they're thinking about this kind of the evolution of their scouting and talent ID program. And we presented to them the USL Super League and our entire pathway and how we're thinking about the growth and development of that. So it was on the women's side and the men's side. Actually, our men's leagues were represented in the room as well. So it was a pretty comprehensive conversation. And then Gooch and Tracy Kevins, who does development, and Tony came out to the Tampa Bay Sun game. They actually came out to Spokane Zephyr training, and then they came out to the Tampa Bay Sun game, and they got to feel the energy of a Super League game in person. And, it was a fun game, 3-2, lots of goals, high energy. So it was really special to have U.S. Soccer in the building at the game, not only talking, in the boardroom about talent ID and development, but actually feeling the experience in the stands. It was really cool. And we, we're excited about the future. Obviously what Emma Hayes is building with the U.S. women's national team. Our goal is to support that and make sure that we're aligned with U.S. Soccer, and that the Super League is helping drive the future success of our team.
Absolutely love that. And I love the fact that we're growing, baby.
Yes.
Okay. 2025 Sporting Jacks. I have really no question other than, like, what does it mean for you to see the league grow so quickly? And we got the makings of a great little Florida derby, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Yeah. Well, it's great because I do think with the international calendar, making sure that we have a good balance of northern teams who can play in those really hot, muggy summer months, and then southern teams who can play in the December, February kind of window gives us a good balance on the schedule. right? It's a unique situation for us being on the international calendar. So adding Sporting Jacks, of course, adds another Florida team for the rivalries down here. But it gives us a little bit of flexibility in those winter months from a scheduling perspective. So that's really, really powerful. And Sporting Jacks, we actually announced them, I don't know, 2 years ago, maybe as a club in the Super League. So they had a lot of pieces to put together up there in Jacksonville to get ready for next year. They still have a lot of pieces, but that club has been on. I mean, the season tickets are already on sale. Go get your season tickets.
I literally have it. Branding looks great. I love the colors. Anna and I have we got to get a kit. Anna,
I
that's
know.
what we're gonna get for Christmas. We're gonna get each other kits for Christmas, and we're gonna surprise.
Let's do it. That's a great idea.
I'm a big fan of the kits.
That's so many kits. And we can't even see them all. I know they're all behind you. I guess with that point, with Jacksonville coming into the market, I know you guys are super particular with what teams and what areas you're bringing into the market. So why Jacksonville in particular, and what was that process like? I know it wasn't like an overnight process.
Yeah, well, in any expansion market, it's a combination of the right facilities, both for your games and training. It's a combination of the ownership group, and then is the project ready, right? Do they have staff in place? Do they have they put everything in line? So we have quite a few teams in the expansion pipeline coming in the next couple years. You'll see that our path to growth is pretty significant. Right now, you've seen Jacksonville obviously as our first announced expansion team, but in the years to come, we have like a lot in the hopper that are building stadiums, that are building facilities, that are hiring staff. So it'll start to roll, at some point in the near future. But so Jacksonville, all the pieces, the ingredients were all ready to go. And for us, that ownership group has been tremendous and definitely invested specifically in women. They've made it an absolute point that they want to launch with the women's professional team in Jacksonville. And yeah, we're really proud to partner with them. They're awesome.
We're now on the topic of fashion, and Marion and I are big fashion lovers. We almost
Can't
find a way to
incorporate.
Well, the necklace. I mean, it just shows you she knows how to dress up a t-shirt. Kudos to you, Marion.
Okay, no, I have to tell everyone I'm in shambles right now. Okay, I told you guys off there. I've been in this dead gum hotel for like 17 days. I put my Christmas decorations up to not have seen them. I'm gonna go home and have to take them down. It's gonna be great. I haven't had my nails done. I can't even show them to you because I'm so embarrassed. I haven't had them done. They're like, when you start to like chip off and then you're like actually tearing your nails apart, but then you can't get the rest off, so you just have like the terrible part right there. And I've lost AirPods. Like we're in shambles.
She's unwell, guys.
Okay, so I'm just happy I got dressed this morning. That's all I'm saying.
You brushed your hair. You look good, kid. You're doing a great job. Keep it up. With that said, though, Amanda, we've seen you in every market. We've seen you on press tours, the whole gamut. So what has been your favorite outfit so far in the fall?
Oh, my favorite outfit. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, what a good question. Okay, so I have a couple answers. I have a pair of shoes that I was wearing on a couple club visits. They were like these platform shoes that I actually found. I found them at Nordstrom, and here's what's so weird. I couldn't afford them. They were too expensive. I was like, I can't. They got these little silver stars on them. I'm not kidding you guys. I went home and opened my Instagram, and they were on the Instagram 50% off. So obviously it was like a sign that I had to buy them.
Yeah.
And then I wore them everywhere. The players will remember. If the players listen to this, they'll know because I had a lot of comments about them. So those shoes were my favorite.
I need Lisa to send us a pic of those because I have right now. I have platform Jordan like combat boots. Like they're literally, if I can get my leg up here, they're literally.
Oh my god.
They're literally platform, but they're Jordans. They're literally Nike Jordans.
And perfect for you though, Marion, because you're like 5'2" at best. Like she's a lot shorter than what I think people realize.
I do appreciate the 2 inches, but 5'2" on a great day with these boots on. On Anna's note, favorite fashion moment for you. What's been your favorite? You've been all the stadiums. Do you have a favorite in stadium moment from the fall?
In stadium moment from the fall. I mean, I feel like the easy answer was the opening game, with the ball. The ball came down on the parachute, and I was down there with our women's ownership group, and I was in Anna, you were there with me.
I know you were in your orange suit. Were you wearing the shoes?
Put that on the fashion list. I was wearing the shoes that day. That's
right.
right.
I know what you're talking about.
That suit was money, by the way.
Yeah, it was a good one. Yeah.
That was good. I think I have photos of us, Amanda. So I'll put it on the YouTube link. If you're watching this show, you can see the cool shoes you had on.
We should have in for our Black Friday sale discussion.
Yeah, I know. Black Friday last week, this week. If you go to Nordstrom's right now, actually, they have a massive shoe sale. So you should definitely hit it up now. Yeah, we'll see. We're not even going to wrap the show. She's out. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Amanda. It was so fun to learn a little bit of behind the scenes and some of the things you guys have down the pipeline. We'll definitely get you back on the show in the spring. Enjoy your break and have a good holiday.
Absolutely.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. You guys too. Thank you for everything you do. It's amazing. The show's amazing. You two are awesome. The broadcasts come to life when you guys do it. So it's honestly means so much. The work you put in behind the scenes is unparalleled. And so a big thank you to you too.
Cheers to you, girl.
Thanks so much for joining us this week on Game Week on SiriusXM. For Marion Crowder, I'm Anna Witte. You can catch us every single Wednesday on the SiriusXM app, or you can tune in on YouTube on USL's page. Until next time, and until 2025, we'll see ya. Have a great week.
You've been listening to USL Super League Game Week on SiriusXM FC.